I debated over, okay, what is going to be Garrett and I's co-host day? Like, what's that going to be? So for right now, since it's the season, I think Monday needs to be the you and me day because we've got to go through games.
Yep.
We've got to go through things. I got to tell you, I hit a nice balance of football and wife time this week. Like in any fair negotiation, both parties leave a little uncomfortable, but
Correct.
we wound up both having a good time. So
how much or which games were sacrificed for the wife time?
Here's the thing. I was worried that the first half of Clemson and Georgia and West Virginia and Penn State were sacrificed because we went to the pool.
Okay.
But she was like checking the score for me. I was like, okay, well, she's like, West Virginia and Penn State, something weird's going on. She just saw the score. She didn't see that it was in a weather delay, which I was like, great. But then I was looking at the score. I'm like, I'm not enthused about my hardcore.
No, we
let's
bit the
go
bullet
Nears.
We bit the bullet on that one.
Yeah, took that one hard. I will say, Pick'em week 1. Congratulations to Scotty B.
Yes, Scotty
You're
B.
the winner. The winner among us. I 7-3. Craig 6-4. Smokey 5-5. Jack 5-5. Garrett 4-6.
This is all my fault. I did the same thing last year where I made stupid picks early on and try to justify them, and that's not going to happen. I have week 1 under my belt for that, and I'm going to be serious going forward. I will never pick Florida again, ever.
No. I went back and forth on that one because of history, and then I just thought, I've not heard one good thing about Florida for like the entire offseason. Other than people saying, Graham Mertz is not as bad as you say it is. 21 touchdowns, 3 interceptions last year. And I was like, yeah, but like wins. Like overall,
something has to count
how
here.
many games in his career at Wisconsin and Florida has he won?
He's looked good. That first time he came out at Wisconsin, I was like, okay, this kid has something. Then reality set in. He has never been able to.
No, he is not like the through line with Graham Mertz is that, all right, he doesn't turn the ball over all that much, but didn't do anything else well either. So
not at all, man.
I mean, there's not a lot he does in all of this. So that's what I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back. Now, look, we're probably going to see a lot of DJ Lagway here in the coming weeks.
You're going to have to.
Well, Graham Mertz is in the concussion protocol because in the fourth quarter of that game,
he got
rocked. Clean hit, just rocked.
Well, you could kind of tell, they were getting to him, and Miami started dialing up the pressure, too.
I saw something from Miami I have not seen since about 2002, which is those mofos are hunting now.
Yep.
They've got a little of that now. They've got to do more than just beat Florida to keep that. They've got to actually do something in the conference that they're in now, which they've never really done. So, but I think Cam Ward has flipped the ACC. I think that was the flip. I still think it's going to be a battle between – I think the top 4 teams in the ACC as it stands right now. I've not changed my mind on Florida State. I don't think they're as good, but I still think they're going to be really good. I think Georgia Tech is going to be a tough out, and I think NC State's going to be a tough out. And Clemson to me is 5th right now until they prove otherwise offensively.
Yeah, that offense is abysmal.
Yeah, so there's a lot to go through. We will save – USC and LSU for maybe after the break so that Garrett can have as much time as I can physically allow on the show to gather his emotions. I did not get that same benefit a week ago when my team lost in a very similar circumstance. But because I'm a better human being than Garrett, who no, I can't even begin to say that. I'm a better human being than Garrett. I'm going to say that with a straight face as long as I can. No, I'm just the host of the show, so I have to take the bullets first. But I'm going to give you some time to ingest.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and don't forget, by the way, Pick'em, same link. We'll keep putting in the chat. Keep going back week after week. We'll keep building up. We had about 60 people week 1, 65 to 70, I think, which is good. We want to be at 300, 400, 500, 600. We want a lot,
tell your people.
Without me having to pay, our company having to pay per user, we can go up to about 2,000, which is which is a nice number for me to keep this at. Overall,
Texas, you have to go diving through all of it.
Yeah, no. I mean, like, I don't have to do anything, but like the thing is, the more you get, the more 9-1s you're going to get. When the tiebreakers are like, like this week, the tiebreakers, Texas and Michigan. Well, all right. So say we have 2,000 people and 25 of them go 8-2, and all 25 put combined points of 50. Then I don't know. I don't know how this works out. There's tiebreakers within the system, but I'm not sure how to do it, but it's very easy to do. So, anyway, but I watched a ton of games. I know you watched a ton of games. Jack, I know, watched a lot of games when he wasn't taking some great photos and video at the Baylor game.
Him and Emory crushed it.
Yeah. By the way, I would like to see Emory's photos that he got on TV the other night. And he was like in that like Jabberwocky pose that we took the picture of him in Vegas, but he was like squatted down and got a really good shot of DeQuan Finn coming into the end zone. But I would like to see the picture that he took of DeQuan Finn there.
Right.
Like of all the things that's probably like the dud that he has. It's like, oh man,
this one. Yeah. No, they did a hell of a job.
There's like a great picture of a kid from the band like standing up to like readjust his drum, and then the one with DQ, and it's just like, oh, it's blurry.
Yeah.
But look at this kid with the drum. He moved it so he could eat his hot dog. No mustard on his shirt. Yes. Congratulations, guy. But yeah, so I watched a ton. So Garrett, which game, let's go through what opinions are you curious that I have, and then I'll ask the same back to you.
Curious opinions. Okay. I would say after we have seen Virginia Tech and we've seen, because that was one coming into this game, you were high on Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt. I was a little nervous. Like I knew he was good. But
he's a rascal, man.
He is.
He's a rascal.
I honestly forgot about last year with them rolling into Auburn and taking care of business. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
And then once you start watching them, like Vanderbilt's not going to beat a lot of people, especially once they get into conference play. They're not. They're not necessarily a good team. They are a fun team. But after seeing them, where you look at this as considerably, like we joke about Vanderbilt all the time, right? Like they're the bottom of the barrel of the SEC, going up against what is coming into the season, one of the teams the ACC was banking on. What do you make of Virginia Tech coming out of that? And I know Kyron Drones got hurt, but what was your thoughts on that game?
I said it was going to be a good game.
You got that.
I thought because of Diego Pavia. Is it Pavia?
I think it's Pavia.
Diego Pavia. By the way, I've been trying to relearn Spanish again, like get back into it. So since I called him a rascal, I'm going to give him a name because he's a very rascally quarterback.
Yes.
Like where it's like, oh my God, this guy, like it doesn't really make sense that because he doesn't look particularly, like if I was going to pick a quarterback out of like just off the rack, I'd take KJ Jefferson. I'd be like, that one. Like, are you sure you don't want this one right here? The Diego is it's surprisingly effective. You're like, no, that one looks right there. That's taller, like I bet you its arm is stronger, all these other things. And not to knock KJ Jefferson. We talked about
that's where those looks can be deceiving things.
Slow start. We'll just put it to that. I would be like, oh no, I don't want, I'm looking at maybe features over performance here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start calling him because the word for rascal in Spanish is el bribón. I'm going to start calling him el bribón.
I like it.
The rascal.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, el bribón. And so el bribón, Diego Pavia, was fantastic. Like he just kept making plays.
Yeah.
He kept making plays. I'm not writing Virginia Tech off after this by any stretch of the imagination, but Colin Schlee's probably going to have to play for a couple weeks because Kyron Jones hurt his ankle. He tried to come back in and play. It was not effective late in the game, and that's probably a large reason why they did wind up losing. So if Kyron Jones is going to be out for any kind of a stretch, then that does change what's going on. Now, Colin Schlee's like another 6th or 7th year dude who had some eligibility who came back, and he's had success in college. There's a reason that Kyron Jones is the starter. They wanted Colin Schlee back there to back him up so they have reliable backup.
Yeah.
Because they are good. But I do think that certainly hurt them. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Vandy's going to go and upset Tennessee or anything
No.
But I'm going to tell you, they're not going to be as easy of an out.
No, they're not going to bow down to anybody. Like that's what makes them dangerous is they have no fear. They have nothing to lose. So every game they go in, you can't take them for granted and you can't sleep on them now, where in the past they just didn't have a playmaker like that really put a threat in you, but you can't sleep on them this year. I think one of the things that as the weekend was progressing that kind of caught me off guard a little bit, because we've seen this with them last year, but Oregon struggle offensively against Idaho.
Yeah.
What the hell?
I don't know. Like that one, I have Big Ten Network among all the things that I have, but I couldn't figure out how to get it up on whatever I was watching. Like I couldn't find it in regard to everything else I was watching in that moment, which was basically, and it sucked because on Amazon Fire Sticks, ESPN Plus doesn't have the multi-view yet, which hopefully they will
Everything
soon.
should. Hopefully.
Everything should. Like it should be a feature that
it really should.
It'd be like right now, in my opinion, if you're a sports app and don't have multi-view across all delivery systems, you might as well not have fast forward. Right. I mean, like, what do you
exactly
pause and like, what are you doing? It's 2024, people. But I was going back and forth between A&M and Notre Dame and the near disaster in Lubbock with Tech and ACU. But I am like, it did catch me off guard given all the weapons that they have. I will say one thing that we have not talked about because they still have Tez Johnson. They went and got Evan Stewart, who really didn't make much of an impact against Idaho. But my theory on Evan Stewart, he was just playing in the wrong system. I don't think that's going to be the case with Will Stein, but we'll see. I mean, but they lost Bucky Irving, who's one of the better running backs in the country last year. And I think that we maybe let that go a little bit more. And they lost Troy Franklin, who, again, one of the better wide receivers in the country last year. So that's two really huge playmakers. And I do think there's clearly a drop off between Bo Nix and Dylan Gabriel, even though I love Dylan Gabriel. I think he's fun. I think he's great. But, Bo Nix was the 12th pick in the draft.
Yep.
And Dylan Gabriel, that's not going to happen for him. So, yeah, I think there's a bit of a drop off. I think Oregon will find their true north. And sometimes these things are, first game jitters, or, they didn't respect Idaho enough and Idaho came to play.
Yeah, they did.
But yeah, I mean, that was a weird one for sure.
So, okay, you mentioned there the two games with A&M and Notre Dame, whatever. Like in that one, I'm not surprised Riley Leonard did what he did. I think that he was the better quarterback in that situation. Connor Wickman's good. He's just good.
He threw 3 picks.
He threw 3 picks, but the defensive line for A&M was something I was kind of disappointed when we heard, like, bringing in Nick Scorton.
I thought they played well for most of the game. Notre Dame wasn't trying to throw the ball deep, so there's not a lot of opportunities to get sacks. They didn't run the ball well until later. Neither team really ran the ball well all night long. I mean, you saw Mike Elko telling Colin Klein, run the effing ball.
Yeah, he was pissed.
Because they needed to try at it. I think that game went about a way you would think two defensive gurus and like two of the top defensive minds in football running a game wanted it to go, where it was going to come down to the fourth quarter and who was ever stronger in that moment. It was whoever's going to break the big play, and Notre Dame wound up being the team that broke that big play and won that game. My opinion about neither one of them's changed. I thought A&M was impressive in the first game. Fundamentally, they were a lot better. It was funny. A friend of mine texted in our group chat the other night that, ironically, Riley Leonard is much more like Colin Klein than Colin Klein's own quarterback.
That is
spot
on, dude.
That is dead on.
That is, wow.
So Colin Klein sitting there watching, his mirror image, like, go down there and do those things. And Riley Leonard is not going to put up spectacular stats on most games, but he's not going to get you beat at all. And he's going to make big plays when it matters. He's probably a poor man's version of JJ McCarthy, in that, like, you don't really have to ask him to go win the game. But you don't also have to tell him, like, please don't do a stupid thing, because he's not gonna. I really do like Riley Leonard. I hope that works out for Notre Dame. I think it'll be great. So yeah, I like that. As far as Texas Tech and ACU goes, very much in the same thing as Oregon and Idaho, but Tech's had a problem on defense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, going back more than one head coach. So I think Joey McGuire is drilling down this week to make sure, they got Wazoo. That's going to be an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for sure they discounted ACU. I think that's something that they did. Maverick McIver was there.
That's a name, too.
I mean, yeah. But I mean, Maverick McIver also, that's a Texas Tech quarterback name, and he was a Texas Tech quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And he came back to Lubbock, and he was – I don't want to take anything away from him, but sometimes I think you see somebody so locked in that it does not matter who they're playing or what's going on around them. I will say that reminded me a lot of Chandler Morris against Baylor.
Oh, yeah.
Where like you're just watching him and like, oh, this kid's he's just everything's going right. And Tech just defensively had no answer for them. They made silly mistakes. Joey McGuire, I've never seen him that puckered up at the end of a game before, intense. And I do think that Patterson messed up by going for 2. I understand why he did it. And we wouldn't be saying this had they made it.
Right.
But I think in hindsight, like, look, you've been holding serve and, going back and forth for a long time. Like, get it to the 2-point conversions at least. That way, you can that's what I would try to do. I know that the conventional wisdom of the old overtime was like, look, we don't want to keep doing this, having 7, 8, 9, 10 plays.
Correct.
But now when after the second overtime, it just goes to 2-point conversions, it's only 1 play each time. So I would try, if I'm the massive underdog on the road in that situation, try to get to 2-point conversions, because then I think that's in my favor, because now you're not trying to stop, what's potentially like, a drive, so to speak, or short drive. You're trying to stop a play.
Right.
You're calling 1 play at a time, as opposed to, okay, well, we haven't done this well. We haven't done this well. We haven't done this well. Well, you're just getting out the 2-point conversion playbook that you have and doing that.
Right.
So
I think so. So the next thing I'm curious about is, so we saw Colorado play the other night, and we saw Travis Hunter put on a damn show, and everybody coming out of that was Heisman front runner, and rightfully so. And then as the weekend unfolds, Ashton Jeanty has himself a night. Teteroa McMillan has himself a night.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on some of these individual performances we've seen just in week 0, week 1, man?
I would say right now, here's my Heisman, like the people I would, if the season ended after 1 game, it would be Ashton Jeanty, Travis Hunter, Ted McMillan, Cam Ward are my 4. Like those are the ones I thought were the most impressive. Carson Beck was good, but he didn't do anything that was like,
he did what he needed to do. Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be a Heisman candidate, to be quite honest with you. I think that
he doesn't have to be. All he's got to do is get the ball to his playmakers.
He's going to be good. He's going to be a first-round pick, and he's going to be fine.
It's like Stetson Bennett all over. But
I don't think he's gonna put up the ridiculous numbers that other people at his own position will put up. I would also put Jalen Miller played Western Kentucky. I mean, but Jalen Milroe was fantastic. Jackson Dart was fantastic.
Arkansas, Taylon Green
was like,
good
all
God.
These. You know what I was very impressed with is all these teams that did exactly what they were supposed to do in these games. Like, now, were they boring to watch? Hell yeah, they were. But they did exactly what they were supposed to do. I thought there's a lot. Ashton Jeanty was great.
Yeah.
That was a really good game. Georgia Southern's a good team. Boise State's good. Georgia Southern came to play, but I think they probably knew that, look, we're not going to win this game if we can't stop Ashton Jeanty. And, well,
good luck with that. Nobody's going to stop him.
New Mexico was winning the game against Arizona for a minute, and then Teteroa McMillan was like, no. Every time, you can't cover me, and I'm going to make sure that the world knows that you can't cover me. He was absolutely fantastic. Man, he and Luther Burden are going to get kicked really, really high. The wide receivers I was the most impressed with were Ted McMillan, Luther Burden didn't have to do much the other night.
No.
So but I still think, but I really liked him. Kyron Lacey, I'm not surprised.
He's the dude.
I expected that. Hunter from USC last night. Yeah, Hudson.
That catch he made was one of the best catches I've ever seen in my life.
USC is better across the board better across the board than I thought they were. All across the board, particularly on defense. We'll talk about that next. I have
Xavier Restrepo, man.
Yeah, Xavier Restrepo, really, really good player. So
what about, I know like coming into this, you've been really high on Boise, Memphis as your G5 teams. And I think everybody should be, right? Like, especially when you look at what Boise did, but look at and I know Houston's got some work to do, but UNLV just handling business.
Yeah, Houston has a long way to go. That was
good.
Not the way they want to do it. But UNLV, look, should be better. And Matthew Saluka got the start, and he's super athletic. He didn't wow me, but like everything worked out for them. Houston made mistakes, and look, they don't have to worry. They got Willie Fritz.
Mm-hmm.
Like that will get right.
Yeah.
But they're in transition right now. So yeah. By the way, Paxton just asked, Orgy's not the starter for Michigan.
No, he's not.
Davis Warren is. And if you have one, you have one. If you got two, you got none. And so
I think Michigan's going to get worked by Texas.
Their defense will probably hold Texas into a reasonable, where it's not going to feel like it's 52-10 because it won't be 50. Like it's not going to be 52-10. But it could be 34-10 and feel the same way. Mm-hmm. Where when if Texas gets a lead of 2 touchdowns in that game at any point, I think it's done.
It probably is.
I think it's done. And Colorado State, not even a fair measure to grade Texas against. I feel bad for Troy Horton, who's a really excellent wide receiver at Colorado State. But Texas was fantastic the other day.
Yep.
And there's no reason to even watch that game other than, Arch Manning came in and
that's what I was wondering.
Started dicing people up.
I was wondering the ratings on that from when the news came in that Arch was on the field. Like, I'm
sure they had a bump. And
that spiked.
He only threw 1 incompletion and looked good. Mm-hmm. So, man, I don't know. I had a lot of FOMO about my own team's roster watching games around the country this week. Travis Hunter's the FOMO.
Mm-hmm.
Literally down to
he's
minutes.
The one because he's the one that got away.
Down to minutes.
He's the one that got away.
Down to minutes. Not even Shadur, because Shadur wouldn't even have been playing until this year anyway, because Jordan Travis was there.
Mm-hmm.
But Travis Hunter was down to minutes.
Nope.
Mike Norvell sitting in the office waiting for the thing to come through, and then all of a sudden Jackson State.
I would have loved to have been in that room when that came across.
Well, you know what? That's the ultimate spiteful move. Oh, you're not going to make me the head coach of this program? Just wait until I can do something to hurt you.
Yep, I'm gonna get you.
Yeah. Didn't matter at all last year. Although you threw Travis Hunter on that team last year. I'm just saying. But
I guess the last thing I have before we go into the next segment is I want to talk about that West Virginia Penn State game because man,
Penn State absolutely broke them.
They were so much bigger. Here's what I had a problem
a lot bigger.
With. The size difference between Penn State up front on defense and what West Virginia was working with on offense. And I like going for it. I like being aggressive in those situations. But the play calls to try to test the strength of that defense when you're at a disadvantage and do it over and over again was concerning for me. I thought that Garrett Green would have developed better as a passer over this offseason, and that just did not happen. Granted, that could just be a bad mismatch, but one sample size, he looks like he has not progressed as a passer. And I've been completely wrong on Drew Aller because he definitely has gotten a lot better. And that Andy Kolenicki offense with the playmakers that they have could be interesting.
Yeah, that was that was disappointing for me because I had really doubled down. I thought like everything was going to be in their favor, and I've maybe doubted Penn State a little unfairly. Now we'll see what happens when Penn State gets into the teeth of their Big Ten schedule. But Penn State's
I think they avoid
their Big Ten schedule is not terrible. I mean, it's like everybody's schedule is hard to varying degrees, but you know, like they go to USC on October 12th.
That could be a
like if week 1 holds, that's going to be a really good game. We don't know anything about Wisconsin yet. You know,
I don't know about Wisconsin.
Ohio State. They have Washington at home. We don't know anything about, you know.
Yeah.
But down the stretch at Purdue, at Minnesota, and Maryland.
Those are 3 dubs.
I mean, you're looking at the possibility of playing of either playing Ohio State again, which you probably should, or say Oregon or, you know, wins a game against Ohio. Like they should be playing against Maryland with at least a shot to be in the title game.
Yeah.
That may or may not be in their total control, but like it should not be where they go into that last week wondering with this schedule.
Right.
They should not go in wondering, are they going to be in the title game? And even if they're not in the title game,
they don't have to be. Just put yourself in position to make the playoff.
12th.
Yeah, that's all you got to do.
Just be 12th. If they are below 12th with this schedule, then something's wrong.
Yeah.
Something's wrong because they just thumped one of the teams that I think it's eventually going to be a really, you know, kind of a tough team to beat, but I mean, it was never in doubt.
No.
In that game. So when we come back, we're going to talk all things Tigers and Trojans